Welcome to the AI Agent series brought to you by LG Electronics and T-Times. I'm Jay Hong from T-Times. Great to have you with us.
Hi there, I'm Shara Park from LG Electronics.
Today, we're joined by a company that's been getting global attention. Please welcome Mr. Jae-Sung Lee, CEO, and Mr. Yoon Kim, CSO of TwelveLabs. Great to have you both with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's great to be here.
Could you briefly tell us about TwelveLabs, what the company does and what its mission is?
TwelveLabs is a video foundation model company founded in 2021. We specialize in developing and deploying state-of-the-art multimodal video AI models. Our technology is designed to help enterprise clients, especially those managing massive volumes of video content, get real value from their data. Our main clients are in industries like media and entertainment, sports, advertising, and even government sectors. We want to become something like the visual cortex for future AI agents. In other words, we're building software that can process visual streaming data, understand it deeply, and then connect that understanding with language models so the AI can describe what it sees, make sense of it, and decide what to do next. That's the kind of intelligence we're aiming to enable.
Now, for people who work in this field, that probably makes a lot of sense already, but if I were to simplify it for someone totally new to this, video isn't something you can traditionally search through, right? Usually we search using titles or descriptions that someone manually added. But TwelveLabs technology actually understands what's happening inside the video. So no matter what you type in, it can find that exact moment and pull it right up. Is that too simplified, or is that about right?
No, I think that's actually a great way to describe it. To put it simply, what we're working on is helping AI understand what's happening inside a video and then translating that into natural human language. So once the AI can really describe the content of a video in words, it opens up all sorts of possibilities: search, classification, summarization, you name it. It's kind of like how language models exploded with all kinds of capabilities once they got good at predicting the next word. We're trying to unlock that same kind of potential, but in the world of video.
When I watched some of the promo videos from TwelveLabs, what really blew my mind was stuff like, if you type, "show me the scene where someone uses a magic wand to make a feather float," then boom, that Harry Potter moment pops up. Or like, find the exact shot where Michael Jordan dunks and Jack Nicholson's eyes go wide. And the system can actually find that. You guys have that kind of tech, right?
Yeah, exactly. We actually have clients using it in that very way, like, show me every clip where this player does a certain action. And big studios, Hollywood-level post-production teams, are using it a lot for that kind of thing. Traditionally, they'd spend hours manually tagging clips, jotting down time codes in spreadsheets. This moment happens at 3 minutes and 42 seconds, that sort of thing. But our goal is to make that whole process smooth and automated, and we're seeing a lot of people really putting it to good use.
So with all that cutting-edge tech, you guys are getting a lot of attention, especially now with the rise of AI agents. What's the connection there? Why is TwelveLabs in the spotlight in this AI agent era?
Well, AI agents are inevitably heading toward becoming multimodal, and once you go down that path, you need a module that can understand video. Now, sure, you might eventually have one massive model that handles everything, but there's also a scenario where when an agent encounters a certain kind of data, like video, it knows to pass it off to the right specialist model. That's where we come in. We're gaining attention because our technology can act as that visual brain for agents, helping them process and truly understand video content.
Looking at things objectively, these days even ChatGPT can handle videos directly in a chat. And if you look at Google, I think it's called Astra. That project can understand video content instantly too. So how would you say TwelveLabs compares technology-wise?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a big difference between what works in a demo and what works in real-world business applications. From a demo perspective, sure, we could show you a 1-hour video and it might look similar to what others are doing. But at TwelveLabs, we've built everything, not just the models, but the entire video processing infrastructure specifically for video. Most of our clients are dealing with heavy-duty video files, megabytes and up. And if you look at current LLMs, they typically break a video down into individual frames and try to shove all that into a massive context window. That approach really doesn't scale well for video content. What we've done is optimize deeply for video from the ground up. So I'd say that's where we really stand out.
If you were to analyze the video, search and move in that direction, when multimodal with voice is added, you can have almost everything, right? LRM has already laid down the text, and with the video and voice added, the technology seems almost complete. So, in the step towards becoming an agent, what role or vision does TwelveLabs have?
That's a great way to look at it. I mean, video itself is already multimodal. It includes visuals, speech, and sound. And when it comes to understanding video, all of that really matters. From our perspective, the biggest opportunity for this kind of technology might actually be in physical agents, robots essentially. That said, with robotics, even though there are some amazing demos out there, I think we're still quite away from large-scale commercialization. It's kind of like autonomous vehicles. We saw impressive demos 10 years ago, but it's taken about a decade for real-world deployment to catch up. I think physical agents will follow a similar timeline. Before we even reach that stage, there's already a lot that can happen in the realm of web-based agents. When it comes to video, this could involve things like automated video editing or content moderation. In surveillance, for example, AI could automatically detect and summarize unusual behavior. Then, depending on the situation, an agent could trigger the appropriate response by connecting with another model that knows how to take the right action. In that setup, you'd have what's called a tooling agent, the one that decides, okay, this happened, so now we need to trigger this model or take this action. And that's how we see it playing out. So at TwelveLabs, we think of ourselves as building the understanding agent, the part of the system that deeply processes and makes sense of visual data. When that understanding is in place, the tooling agent can take it from there and figure out what to do next. That's the big picture we're working toward.
If you think about language models like ChatGPT, they've basically trained on all the digitized text available in the world. They generate and understand based on that. But when it comes to video, we're not there yet. The data just doesn't exist at that same scale. Even though the internet has come a long way and there's tons of video out there, it's not as dense in information as text. But that's changing. Ever since smartphones made it easy for everyone to shoot high-quality videos, the amount of condensed, meaningful visual information has skyrocketed. Looking ahead, the real explosion in video data won't come from people holding up cameras. It'll come from machines. Robots, drones, automated systems. They'll be capturing massive amounts of footage. Imagine video feeds from 100 cameras, or thousands of drones recording all at once. That's the kind of content humans simply can't keep up with on their own. That's why we're working to build video models with superhuman levels of understanding, because that's what it's going to take to make sense of this next generation of machine-generated video.
Text and audio have been around as digital data for quite a long time, but video is a bit different. It's only recently that we've seen a huge surge in uploads. And even now, not every moment in life gets captured on camera. I imagine that creates some challenges for you. How are you dealing with that gap?
When humans learn language or speech, we actually learn by generating. Kids learn to speak not just by listening, but by trying to speak themselves. They hear others, they mimic, they have conversations. And I'd say the same goes for reading and writing. We learn through interaction. Language and speech were created for communication between people, so naturally we're good at generating and understanding them. But if you stop and think, are humans just as good at generating video? What does it even mean to generate a video, really? And then, how do we understand the videos we generate? It's a lot less clear-cut than with text or speech. So video generation and understanding, and more broadly, generating and understanding multimodal information, that's a whole different level of complexity. It's a much bigger challenge than working with text alone. We're talking about speech, audio, music, subtitles, and visual content all combined. How does AI take in all of that and then summarize it in a way that's meaningful in human language? How do we get it to communicate in a way that really resonates with us? That's still an open question. It's unsolved. And for us, one of the biggest challenges right now is this. Can we create an AI agent that takes in all this multimodal information and communicates it back to us in a way that feels natural, intuitive, and emotionally compelling? To solve that, it's not just about algorithms. We need to bring together hardware, software, service models, everything. But we're building our strategy in a way that delivers value in the short term, while still pushing toward that bigger, long-term vision.
With LLMs, we've all seen some of the issues that come up, like hallucinations and other limitations. So when it comes to improving and advancing the TwelveLabs model, what specific problems are you trying to solve right now? What's driving that push for higher performance?
Yeah, what our model's really good at is high-level understanding, like figuring out whether the sun is rising or setting. That might sound simple, but honestly, when you're only looking at a single frame from a video, models tend to hallucinate a lot. What sets TwelveLabs apart is our ability to understand things across space and time. And because we're good at that, people start asking for really detailed things, like finding an object that only takes up 1% of the screen. So our short-term goal now is to push for fine-grained scene understanding, getting down to those tiny details. We believe that if we can master that, we'll get much closer to truly understanding everything that appears in front of the camera, no matter how big or small.
We've received a ton of direct feedback from our customers, ranging from media, entertainment, and sports production companies to security teams, public agencies, and businesses using CCTV or drone footage. If we were to sum up that feedback, there are two major themes. First, they want to be able to find incredibly detailed things, on a micro level, even the tiniest elements in a frame. And second, in places like stadiums, there are tons of CCTV and broadcast cameras running during a game. Customers have asked, can't we analyze all of that footage more intelligently? Hearing those kinds of questions has really reinforced our belief that it's not just about building a model that scores high on benchmarks. We need to build a model that actually delivers value to real users in real scenarios. We still have a long road ahead in terms of technology development, but we're following a strategy similar to what OpenAI did with ChatGPT. Release something useful, get real-world feedback, and improve fast. That's exactly how we're approaching it too, building through interaction with our customers step by step.
When we talk about moving into the era of AI agents, people often focus on foundation models and their ability to reason through a chain of thought. How do you think about that idea of a chain of thought when it comes to video? How does that continuity of reasoning apply in a visual context?
I think we're still a bit away from reaching that level when it comes to video. Some die-hard LLM folks are saying the pre-training era is over. But for those of us working on video understanding or video foundation models, it feels more like, wait, we haven't even started proper pre-training yet. We're really just at the starting line when it comes to using video effectively to build strong base models. There's still a lot to figure out in that space. And beyond the typical text-in, text-out approach, I think we'll start to see a wave of innovation in how we interact with these models. Imagine a system that doesn't even need a text prompt. Just give it a video input, and it responds or explains things naturally. That kind of interface shift could be a hug your app forward.
Right now, language and video still feel like they're worlds apart. They're very different modalities. The same goes for music. When you think about it, there are only a few people in the world who can truly translate music, visual art, or film into language in a way that really resonates with others. For most people, combining visual or auditory information with language feels unfamiliar, even difficult. And I think that's partly because we, as humans, haven't really experienced these modalities all at once, at least not in a fully integrated way. But with the rise of wearables, that's going to change. Soon, we'll constantly be surrounded by streams of information, videos, sounds, speech, visual text, even what we see with our eyes. So the real question will become, how can AI help us process all of that quickly, accurately, safely, and naturally? It'll become less about just typing into a search box and more about seamless communication between humans and machines. Just like how typing keywords into a search bar now feels a bit old school, people have moved on to just asking questions in natural language using tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity. I think 10 years from now, we might say, why are people still talking to AIs with their voice? It's not that one modality is better than another. It really depends on the situation, the user experience, and what feels most natural in that moment. Maybe the ideal mix is seeing, speaking, listening, all working together. And soon, I think we'll see agents communicating with each other, exchanging information in real time. When that happens, we're going to get some really fun, truly next-level user experiences.
So then when we talk about AI agents, especially in a way that makes sense for our industry, what exactly should we understand that term to mean?
That's a tough question, but I'll try to give you my own take on it. To me, an AI agent is a digital intermediary, something that mimics human intelligence to help individuals, groups, or organizations accomplish what they want to do in a faster, safer, more accurate, more convenient, and more natural way within the digital world. And when that agent becomes embodied, it operates not just in the digital world, but also in the physical one, acting as both a digital and physical helper. But I think the most important part of defining AI agents isn't what they do, it's why they do it. Why are we building these systems? It can't be to harm humanity. If someone were to build AI agents with the goal of destroying human life, that's an entirely different kind of agent, and not one we want to see in the world. Instead, the reason we build these agents is because there are things humans can't do, don't want to do, or can't scale. And when AI steps in to handle those things, it can make the world a much better, more livable place. That's how I'd like to define it.
If that's the case, then what kinds of changes can we actually expect to see in our daily lives?
I think we'll end up having more time. If all those tedious tasks, like managing your calendar, just disappear, we're going to get a lot of that time back. And then maybe humans will have more space to think deeply, to be more human, in a sense. But honestly, I'm a bit torn on that. Just because we have more time, will we actually be more productive? That's something I keep asking. If we really did have all that extra time, what would actually improve first? Personally, I think education would be one of the first areas to see a major shift. You'd be able to get the answers you need almost instantly, even responses that involve some level of listening or understanding. When that becomes possible, I think the real question will be, what could we learn faster? In a world without agents, humans might start spending more time thinking about those kinds of things and having deeper conversations around them.
There are things humans simply can't do. For example, we can't watch YouTube at 10x speed and actually process it. But imagine if an AI could watch it at 10x speed, pick out exactly what you need, and highlight things you would have missed. That kind of agent would have a huge impact. It would really push people to think differently. I think it could lead to more diverse forms of intelligence in humans. People would start focusing on the things AI can't do yet. And as they do, they'll generate new kinds of data, which AI will eventually learn from, creating a world where we keep evolving together side by side.
Now that AI agents have become the seed of change, I'm sure companies like Apple with Apple Intelligence have mapped out the stages they want to reach. Things like app intents, voice-controlled actions, even full-on task automation. Eventually, we're heading toward a world where just thinking or asking a question could get things done. I imagine you've already broken that down into some clear phases. Could you give us a little hint of what that roadmap might look like over the next few years?
I think the individual building blocks are coming together pretty well as we move toward the agent stage. But in my view, the biggest challenge isn't technical. It's actually about the platform owners. Take Apple's iPhone, for example. If companies like OpenAI had full access to that ecosystem, I think we'd see progress a lot faster. But once you try to use these tools, you realize there's heavy gatekeeping. This isn't allowed. That feature's restricted. Constant prompts asking users for permission. So unless these companies start working together, we might hit some serious bottlenecks. That puts pressure on the platform providers, like Apple, to figure out how they're going to support this. There will be all kinds of agents and models, and they'll need some kind of interface that allows them to work together without being blocked at every step. It's like when Apple provides SDKs for iOS development, they define how developers interact with the platform. I wonder if they're even willing to go that far for agents. So yes, there are still technical problems to solve, but the direction is pretty clear. The real question is how these companies will work through the ecosystem challenge, because Apple might still prefer a world where only their own model handles everything.
The reason we talk so much about agents is probably because the market and the world sees them as something with enormous potential to do good. But like any powerful tool, there's a flip side. People are also wondering what kind of unintended consequences might come with it. That's why I think we're seeing more and more people outside the core AI and engineering communities starting to define and discuss what agents are. As for companies like Apple, Amazon, or Google, not talking much about agents yet? I think in many cases it's simply because they don't fully know what this space will become. And it may take several years before anyone truly understands it.
To build a healthy agent ecosystem, the most important thing will be figuring out how can the agent layer deliver real value through an optimal user experience. That's where we need to focus first, and we'll have to keep a close eye on how the world continues to evolve around us.
ChatGPT is evolving incredibly fast. It's honestly hard for us to keep up. But at the same time, you've mentioned that in terms of delivering real value to customers, it still might be a bit too early. Could you tell us more about which aspects you feel are still too early or not quite ready yet?
Right now, AI models like ChatGPT still struggle to truly understand the analog world. And honestly, having natural conversations with humans isn't that easy for them either. For AI to become genuinely useful, it needs to engage in effective conversations with people who've never used AI before, people who aren't familiar with ChatGPT at all. It should be able to understand what they're thinking, personalize the experience, and even predict what they want or need next. And beyond just generating content, it has to be capable of taking real actions, planning, executing tasks, making reservations, helping bring someone's ideas to life in the physical world. That's not a simple challenge. Sure, we could demo something today, but turning it into something truly practical is a whole different story.
What neighborhood do you think I'm in? This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Getting from a demo to something truly useful will still take a huge amount of time, effort, and careful thought. Over the next 5 to 10 years, AI models will continue to evolve, but real progress will come as the world evolves with them. Agents will gradually find their place in all kinds of practical, everyday use cases, and through that, they'll help move society forward. People often perceive this as rapid progress.
But personally, I don't see it that way. When you're pouring in that much energy and compute power, of course you should be getting some results. We've made meaningful progress without relying on that kind of massive energy use. So for me, the real challenge is, how do we make this genuinely useful to the world? That, I believe, is the biggest question we face today.
The truth is, people are already expecting that by next year, they'll just be able to say something and the AI will handle everything. Make the reservations, sync it to their calendar, plan the whole trip, and all they'll need to do is say yes and go. But you've mentioned that we're still a bit away from that reality. So what are the biggest blockers right now? Can we actually rank the main challenges holding this back?
In my view, the biggest issue is the gap between demos and actual usability. And I think a lot of that comes down to the unpredictability of the model or the agent. Sometimes it performs brilliantly. It feels like magic, but other times, not so much. When a query comes in, the system still struggles with reliably deciding what action to take. That predictability really needs to improve. Without that, it's hard to control the user experience. But I do believe that's something we can address, largely through better data.
I rode a Waymo self-driving car in San Francisco. The first 2 or 3 times it felt amazing, really impressive. But after that, it wasn't surprising anymore. And I think that's a good example. It took an enormous amount of effort and investment for humanity to bring that kind of technology to life. And how did they manage to make it work? By restricting it to just certain areas, only within the city of San Francisco, with limited access to highways. And I think there will still be many challenges ahead, not just technical ones, but social ones. Because roads today aren't just about the car itself. They involve pedestrians, other drivers, and a whole range of unpredictable human behaviors. The user experience has to adapt to all of that. There are just so many variables at play, and that creates a lot of complexity. And I think AI agents will likely follow a similar path. Just like Waymo operating self-driving taxis in San Francisco, we'll probably start seeing use cases where a single company or platform automates everything within a specific domain through an agent. I think we'll start to see those kinds of examples emerge within the next 2 years. And when that happens, people will start asking, if this works here, why doesn't it work there? If self-driving taxis operate in San Francisco, why not in Seoul? The reasons won't necessarily be technical. They'll involve many other factors. At the same time, I think we'll see a growing gap between those who can use AI and those who can't. That divide could become a serious social issue. So I believe we're reaching a point where fairness, transparency, and trust will become more important than ever.
There was a time when we really thought self-driving cars were just around the corner, but it's been 10 years and we're still not quite there. So it feels like the pace of progress doesn't always match our expectations. Given that, which areas do you think will actually take off first?
With AI, I think that last mile is always the hardest to solve. In Silicon Valley, I definitely see mobile agents making big strides, especially on our phones. That's where a lot of progress will likely happen first. On the enterprise side, I expect we'll see a surge in tools designed to boost efficiency and productivity. So I think agents will become really visible in the workplace. But when it comes to bringing that same level of functionality into the home, that might take a bit more time.
Once mobile agents evolve further, do you think our current mobile devices will still be the right form factor?
I think the iPhone is a really beautiful invention. It's hard to imagine something else fully replacing that form factor. When Rabbit launched their device, a lot of people said, "Why would I carry this around when I already have a phone?" So in the end, I think it'll either be the phone or some kind of wearable.
From what I've seen of TwelveLabs' vision, it seems like space, the idea of spatial context within video, is a really key factor for you. So as spatial computing continues to accelerate, I imagine you'll have an even more central role to play. In that sense, it feels like we might move beyond traditional mobile devices towards something like Ray-Bans that share your field of view, or devices that better capture and compute the world around you in real time. Is that something you're envisioning as well? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
You've captured it perfectly. The way I envision TwelveLabs being embedded in the world is this. Any machine with a camera should have something like a visual cortex module attached to it, and that's where TwelveLabs comes in. Of course, tasks that require heavy computing power will still need to be offloaded to the cloud, but for a large portion of use cases, I think the processing will happen right next to the camera itself. That's actually the direction we're building toward with our technology.
Going back to the self-driving example, the biggest reason it's so difficult is that it's where technology meets the physical world in the most direct way. 5 years ago, when we talked about this, my biggest concern was this. Would the people building applications, interfaces, and services at the edge of the digital world, the ones closest to the last mile, actually be willing to disrupt their own ecosystems in order to embrace AI? Would they let go of what they've built? That was the big question for me. But now, I think that's going to change. Yes, because of ChatGPT, I really think that world is going to change. So in the digital space, I believe agents will arrive very quickly. The real question is, how will they arrive and who will get there first? Once we step into the physical world, though, that's a whole different story. That's why I think devices closest to the analog world, like wearables, especially ones equipped with visual sensors, will present a huge opportunity. We don't know exactly how it will unfold, but we're confident that future is coming. So right now, we're doing everything we can to be ready for it.
Companies like LG Electronics and really many others in Korea will need to anticipate how customers are going to adapt. So how do you think people will start adjusting to AI agents? When PCs first came out, they were used for work. Then kids started playing games on them, and that helped them spread even faster. The same thing happened with mobile. With AI agents, who do you think they'll resonate with first? And how will that adoption spread? How do you see people adapting over time?
I think there will be two main types of users. First, people who want to save time, because let's face it, humans are naturally lazy. We don't like hassle. So the first wave will likely be agents that help cut down tedious tasks so we can free up time to enjoy ourselves. The second group will be all about entertainment. People will start turning to agents for the kind of entertainment they've never gotten from other humans. Imagine watching a movie with your agent or enjoying a beautiful view together. It feels like you're with a friend. But unlike a friend, you don't need to take care of them or be considerate. The AI is always there, always seeing what you see and able to give you useful, fun, and relevant information in the moment. In that way, the agent becomes a kind of travel companion, and that could be one of the first real use cases.
In a way, if we start to see AI agents as technologies that exist between people, and if TwelveLabs becomes a core function within that, then how do you see human relationships and society itself evolving in the future? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what that might look like, even just briefly.
I think we're at the point where we need to start making this more concrete. We're not talking enough about it. As we enter the age of agents, we really need to have conversations about how we'll maintain human-to-human interaction. Without that, things could start to feel dystopian. People might become completely absorbed by their agents. We could end up with a world of YouTube just for me, or Netflix just for me. And people might get stuck in that bubble. Kids especially could become vulnerable. They might even forget how to think for themselves. We don't know exactly what that future will look like, but that's why these conversations need to start now. And honestly, when it comes to AI, I don't think it's such a bad thing to over-discuss. It's time to talk.
The first character in artificial is human. So I think the world needs to come together to decide how we shape AGI, not as something that dominates us, but as something we master. Because if we don't make it our servant, there's a good chance we could end up being its servant. That's why, when it comes to the next generation, we shouldn't teach kids to fear AI or dismiss it. It's like children who grow up around wild animals. Those kids often learn how to handle them with confidence. In the same way, we need to teach our children how to work with AI, so that even when AGI arrives, they can still be its master. But beyond that, if our only goal is to control AI, I think life would start to feel a bit empty. Human life has deeper meaning, so we also need to ask the big questions. What does it really mean to live like a human? Why are we here? What do we live for? Only when we provide broad, multidimensional education around the deep philosophical question, what do we live for as humans, can we raise a generation that AGI would truly respect. That's what will make us the rightful masters of artificial intelligence. It's also incredibly important that by the time today's children become adults, they've developed the ability to communicate with one another in meaningful ways and contribute to the growth of our world together. That's why many of the great AI researchers I know are now putting a lot of focus on education.
Before meeting today, I only thought of the core technology of TwelveLabs videos and artificial intelligence. But after meeting, I realized that large language models are actually about words and words. But between those words, humans actually hold a lot of meaning. It seems like you are really pioneering the space between those words through multimodal approaches and finding meaning, making me realize once again that you are an impressive company.
Today, I was able to hear a lot about the deep insights both of you have on AI. I was expecting to hear only about technology today, but it seems like it was a time where all the other parts were filled in as well, as you mentioned. Thank you both for speaking with us for such a long time. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Now,